Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shore.
Hello and welcome to the latest Countryside podcast here on Manx Radio, the last in the current series, unfortunately, but it's an interesting one nevertheless. Kiri went along and spoke to Sandy Hoyton from the Manx Hedgehog Conservation Society to find out the latest news there and what you can do to help the Isle of Man preserve hedgehogs and look after them, because obviously very vulnerable out on our open roads, so some good information to be passed on there. And I went along to my first ever polo match here on the Isle of Man. I spoke to some of the members of the Treskillian Polo Club here on the island and some people from Cheshire who were visiting the island to take part in the friendly competition. I found out more about the rules, what sort of horses are involved and how difficult a sport it is to get into. So all that to listen to, just sit back and enjoy.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, polo seems to be a rather recent addition to the ever-growing list of sporting recreations here on the Isle of Man. And last weekend, I went along to the Great Meadow in Castletown to watch the Isle of Man team in action in a friendly tournament involving teams from the UK. There I met up with Fraser Houston, the general manager of Treskillian Polo Club here on the island. And firstly, I asked him how long they'd been going.
We've been set up now about 20 months as a fully registered HPA club. So going into our second summer season, which we're only just at the beginning of, we've got 26 members now. We're up to 25 horses now, including liveries. Ones that we've sold and people have kept them with us on livery. So that sort of allows us to play. Because the amount of polo you can play is limited by the amount of horses. So we're up to a good number of horses now, a good number of members, and new people coming along all the time. And picking up the sport. So it's we're ahead of schedule. We're doing better than we thought we would at this stage, which is really, really great news.
Yeah. People think, oh, well, I'll have to, if I want to get involved in it, I'll come and watch it and I'll just go out and buy a horse and maybe the rest of the equipment isn't too bad, but that's not the case.
No, not at all. If you want to have a go at playing polo, it's as simple as ring up the club or email the club, which is on the website at www.treskillianpolo.club. And then we can we book you in for a lesson, and if you come along with a friend, basically if there's one or more persons, then it's £45 an hour with all equipment and everything provided,
including the horse.
The horse, and the coach and the use of the grounds and everything all in. If you wanted to come on your own, it's £65 for an hour's introduction lesson. Generally, people come for 2 or 3, maybe a couple more private lessons, and then they'll join in with a group of people that sort of started off at a similar time to them, and then they do group lessons. They learn the rules and just progress from there. And people take it at their own pace. Obviously it's quite a fast and furious sport. It's a contact sport on horses, as you saw today. We're going at 35 mile an hour bashing into each other. So different people take it at their own pace, and we've got a really nice bunch of horses that you can put someone on who's never ever ridden before and they will look after them. They know how to teach people.
Yeah, because I suppose the different thing about riding it from a normal horse is when you pull on the reins with your right hand and pull it with the left. I suppose you're only steering them with one hand because you've got one hand on the stick or the mallet, is it?
Mallet or stick. Yeah, no, it's a different way of riding. I suppose you could compare it to Western style riding, but it is fairly different. But the horses are very responsive. They go when you say, they stop when you say. They're a nice bunch.
I suppose a lot of horse riding events, you see the top ones where it's taken quite seriously. There seems to be a great sort of camaraderie amongst the people involved in it.
Absolutely. Pretty much everything we do finishes up with either a beer or a glass of wine afterwards. It's very social. We've got a really, really nice bunch of like-minded people that's growing all the time as well. They're very welcoming, because obviously everyone here has only started playing polo within the last 18 months or maybe a touch more, so they want to welcome new members and make sure there's more people coming into the sport, and the more people playing, the more polo we've got going on, the more fun there is for everyone. So
well, of course you've got 2 visiting teams over this weekend, and what other future events have you got coming up that if people want to maybe come come down and have a look at it first of all.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got on the 9th of July, we've got the Hospice Charity Polo, obviously in aid of hospice.
Is that down here at Great Meadows?
That's down here at Great Meadows, yeah. So it's £5 entry fee per person. Children come in free, or there is match day dining tables available, so you can sit in the VIP marquee, and that's fully licensed. And then we've got the Army Polo match. That is for the Commonwealth Games Association on the island. They're trying to get some money together to send our team away and win us some medals, and that's hosted by the Claremont Hotel. That's going to be a sit-down meal, all very, very smart. Yeah.
So all in all, happy with such a, I suppose, following in such a short time.
Absolutely. Because obviously we're stopovers. I've been told. I said come overs to start with, but we're stopovers. But yeah, the amount of help that we've had has been, everyone's been very welcoming. People go out their way to help us all the time.
So let's have a chat with one of our visiting team members, who is...
I'm Paul Thomason.
Yeah, and you're from which club?
Cheshire Polo Club.
How long have you been involved in polo?
I've been playing polo now for about 8 or 9 seasons. Yeah. I used to do a lot of eventing prior to that. When I got fed up with eventing, I thought I'd have a crack at polo before I got too old and knackered to play anymore. And unfortunately, it's very, very, very addictive. So
how does it compare? I mean, is it a lot more relaxed and fun than eventing, or?
Yeah, it is a lot more fun. Eventing these days, I think, has got very serious. The games today have been brilliant because we're all really everybody who plays is competitive by nature, but it's been a really, really good natured game today. It's been a lot of fun, and we've all had a bit of a laugh and a joke out there while we've been playing today. So it's been a really nice atmosphere.
Yeah, you say people get competitive. What about the horses? Do they get like that?
Oh yes, some of them do, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of my horses that in a ride-off, which is when you ride your horse into an opponent to try and push them off the ball, they just do not give up.
You can't sideswipe them like a thing, though, can you? Is it more sort of shoulder to shoulder?
Shoulder to shoulder, yes. So that you ride you try and push your opponent sideways off the line of the ball.
So the horse needs to be fit enough for that.
They've got to be fit, and they've got to be tough. They've got to be brave. They've got to be obedient. So
yeah, but I mean, how has it changed since you've been involved? Is it a sport that I suppose it used to be classed as maybe more the upper class one, but there seems to be everyone playing it now?
I think it's like most sports, really. At the top level, it's an incredibly expensive sport, so it attracts very wealthy people, and in the past that meant a lot of landed gentry. That's not so much these days. But at the lower levels, the levels that we're playing here today, anybody literally can come and take part, and you can play at the lower levels without spending a huge amount of money. So in that respect, it's great. Anybody can come and have a go.
You're going to have another battle tomorrow then?
Yep, absolutely. We've got the final and the subsidiary final tomorrow. So in a way, it's a shame that we haven't got an Isle of Man team in the final. We've got the 2 Cheshire teams playing each other, but it'll be good fun.
Good. Well, thanks for talking to us, and good luck in the final.
Thank you very much.
Well, Laurie Hickey, you're one of the stars of the Isle of Man team, I'm told.
Give it a go. Give it a shot. Just beating them playing for Cheshire, so it's a bit awkward, but could be worse.
How long have you been playing?
A few years now. When I did a little bit at uni, then I stopped, and then I didn't like my job, so I just quit it and just went into polo instead. So it's gone well.
But it all has it that you're fairly good at and up and coming in it. And is it a difficult sport to get in near the top?
It's hard to get to the top, but I think if you just sort of commit to it and give it all, then it's all right. I think you've just got to accept that you've got no social life and you've got no money.
Is it that much dedication you have to put in?
Yeah, I think as much as you give, you get back, sort of thing. So if if you're just going to bumble along, you just bumble along. But if you fully commit, then you're going to get all you want from it.
Well, what's the sort of things you've learned over the years? What's anyone up and coming? What's the sort of most important things you learn as you go along?
Your horsemanship's everything. Like, most people when you talk to a ball, but your horses make you. So if you've got, if you're not that good at riding or something like that, you've got rubbish horses, you're only as good as your horses. So I think the horses are the key part.
Yeah, and is it gelling with the horse?
Yeah, you've got to know them. I think with my ones, I know how they go and how to play them to their advantages and what they do best.
And what about the future for you? Would you like to get up to
the GB squad or
I'd
something?
like to give it a shot, but I'll see how it goes. One step at a time. I'll do Cheshire then. Then go from there.
Good luck.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, one of our stars of local polo there, Laurie Hickey. Before that, Paul Thomason from the Cheshire Polo Club. And then Fraser Houston there, first of all, the general manager of the Treskillian Polo Club here on the island.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, some wildlife that's been part of certainly the wildlife here on the Isle of Man, Kiri, is the hedgehogs. And there's a new initiative going, isn't there now?
Yes, the Manx Hedgehog Conservation Society have started up a group back in May 2015 to encourage and give advice to the Manx public about the rehabilitation and preservation of sick and injured hedgehogs.
Because when you go around the Isle of Man, it is a sad scene where you see loads of hedgehogs, and some of them have been injured and if not, deceased around the roads and everything, and it's pretty sad. And I suppose the more we can do to give them some shelter and protection is the main aim of the group, I'd imagine.
Well, this is it. They can go along and learn how to look after them, or even take in an orphaned one. You find lots of little ones wandering around aimlessly. They can go to the sanctuary, hopefully in years to come when they get it built, and have a base to foster these little orphan hedgehogs off. But at the minute they're certainly putting plenty of advice out, and I popped along to see Sandy Hoyton to find out more.
When they're walking, they might find a hedgehog, what to do. They're odd little characters really, and they're quite mystical, aren't they, because we just don't see them for half the year. Although to the end of May 2015 we still had foraging hedgehogs out in January.
Wow.
And they know something that we don't know, because we were all talking about quite a gentle, calm, dampish sort of winter, and they were still foraging.
Wow.
Where we've got the dampness, we've got the slugs and the snails. But
yeah.
It wasn't cold enough for them to go. But within a week of the cold snap, they disappeared.
Went to hibernate.
Yeah, because we have phone calls of people saying, "Oh, I'm still feeding my hedgehog. Am I keeping the hedgehog awake?" Really concerned about, I'm feeding them. They're still coming to forage. We're in December. I mean, one hedgehog got roast turkey. So we won't, honestly,
Christmas dinner,
the hedgehog got roast turkey. And they just said, is it keeping these hedgehogs awake by feeding, because they're just like greedy and they're eating and they're not going to sleep? And I said, no, absolutely not. They're wild animals.
Change of climate.
When they stop eating, we know the cold weather's moving in, and they usually go about a week before. They can smell it, and they go, right, time to go. And they were all great big fat puddings, because they'd had a lot of extra time to forage. But the problem we found is, because we had quite a calm, mild, dampish winter, we had third litter hoglets being born. So you normally have the hoglets, which are the baby hedgehogs, which is a great, cute name. They're normally born, in spring, and they forage and get to be a good, 7, 8, 9 grams of hedgehog to go and have a successful hibernation. Mm-hmm. But we had second litter being born in September, so there was babies running around, hoglets in November, and then we had lots of calls coming in of babies running around hoglets in January.
I see.
Yeah, so we have a wonderful community of foster carers, hedgehog foster carers, so they took on the juveniles. And
so these were orphans, were they then?
Yeah, these were orphans. And people ask us, how do you know it's an orphan? First of all, immediately when people phone us up, I ask them, this is going to sound a bit funny, but I say, are you looking at a hedgehog that resembles the size of a pineapple? Or are you looking at a hedgehog that resembles the size of a grapefruit or an orange? If we're looking tangerine, we're in serious trouble. Oh, yeah. And they said, oh gosh, it's about the size of an orange. Well, if you've got a little orange-sized hedgehog, that tells me that is under 300 grams. If that is in winter, past October, November, moving December, January, those hedgehogs will perish. They just don't have the fat reserve. They have to have a healthy fat reserve, which gives them the good weight of 800-900 grams. So any hedgehog that's resembling the size of a grapefruit to an orange, we collect them, we bring them in. The charity looks after them. When we're happy, we then transfer on to our foster carers. And believe me, we have a long list of waiting people to be foster carers, because it's such a lovely, humble thing to do. And but we also have to explain to them that don't mother the hedgehog. This is a wild animal. Feed, water, clean out, keep checking on them, but try and give them enough ability to go back into the wild. Otherwise, you can completely wreck a hedgehog's ability to go back in the wild. You can tame a hedgehog, literally. So it's okay. I really don't want to go in the wild. This is a bit of a cushy life. You can overhandle them. So they were all really good. And we released these hedgehogs, 9 of them, end of April. And again, it was still dodgy, the weather, because we had a really strange hailstoning day the day before, and we were a bit concerned, oh dear, because it was late to release them. We wanted to release them earlier because naturally they would have been out finding a mate and producing young, but it was just not the right time weather-wise, and we had to forget the calendar on this one, and we had to go by temperature.
Yeah.
And that was the whole reason why we were late releasing them. But it was still quite cold. But the day we released them, it was a beautiful late tea time weather, and it was just smashing, and off they went, all very emotional, but it was good. And we're picking up hedgehogs all the time, and we have to be careful whether they're males or females, and it's important that the public understand this, because if you remove a female, anytime from spring to this time of year, from that particular area, she could have young back in the nest, and then we've got hoglets that will starve to death because they're mammals and they take mummy's milk for about 5-6 weeks, and then she takes them out on a foraging night and loses them literally. And that's also when we get phone calls saying, oh dear, we found a really young little orphaned hedgehog. It looks like an orphan because it's on its own and it's not good. And that's because they have to be the warriors of the wild, and even as little as 6 to 7, 8 weeks, they've got to grasp it quick.
Well, if they're born at the right time of year in April, they can survive and grow into...
Yeah, so it is important that if anybody sees a foraging young hedgehog, and we're talking sort of like an orange size, in the evening, don't automatically presume that it's sick, because it's little and it has to grow and it has to forage, it has to put the weight on. So please don't remove it from its area unless it's wobbling, which is a great problem we've had with dehydration in this heat wave. If it looks fine and it's not injured, just let it go. Please, if it's on the road, be safe, get out your car and place it back over the hedge or something. But they're quite territorial, and it would be wrong to just pick it up and take it to a really, really safe place immediately, because it's in its area, it's doing well, it's thriving. So orphans only if they're wobbling and they're sick, and there's all sorts of diseases that they can get, but we assess that as we get them in. But this time of year, the young hedgehogs are now, they're putting on the weight nicely, and they're looking quite good. We lost quite a lot. A lot of phone calls came in saying we found a little baby dead hedgehog, and we brought some in that were very severely dehydrated because the ground was drying up, the water source was disappearing. They're new on their mission and they just didn't know what to do, and that was very sad. And in fact, that if we had a heat wave all summer and it went on to September, I think we could have probably lost a lot of hedgehogs.
The weather is certainly wreaking havoc, judging by what you're saying. The long, mild, wet winters we're having, and obviously the heat through the summer.
Well, global warming is affecting hedgehogs in a natural sense, but somebody asked me only last week, what's the biggest predator in the Isle of Man to a hedgehog? And I said, human beings. And when I said it, I thought, God, I feel ashamed to be a human being. But, we've also had lots of phone calls of pesticide death. Pesticide death for a hedgehog is horrific, it's horrible, it's painful, it doesn't need to happen. Poisonous slug pellets that go out, which are the blue, we can distinctly tell because of the colour of them. They do the job of killing the slugs and snails, but we're in a food chain here.
I see.
So we have a hedgehog foraging on a poisonous slug and snail, and a young one will die, an adult one will get very poorly and may die, may not die. Birds die, they fly away, we don't know what happens exactly there, but pesticide kill is a big part of educating the public in you can change. There's a lovely product called Earth Matters, and it does the same job. Some people still using the beer method. After the heavy Friday night, stick the beer in the ground and get rid of the slugs and snails. Some talk eggshells. I've not found that to really work. Some people use grapefruit, and they actually turn the grapefruit upside down and it attracts the slugs and snails underneath. And then the hedgehog comes along and takes them that way. So everyone has different ways. One lady told us about copper tape. Never heard of that one, actually. And she said that works. She doesn't like to use anything that's got any chemicals in it of any description. So, it's all very interesting. And we have lots and lots of people come forth on the Facebook page and phone us and tell us, we're doing this. Are we doing this right? I've done this. Oh, dear, So it's a bit like Hedgehog Hotline. And I answer that phone as much as I can, but I do work. So sometimes I have to phone people back. We do our best.
But also you've got a lovely visitor centre coming up. You've applied for planning permission and it's all going ahead?
Yeah, I can't believe this all happened in the first year of founding this charity, but I was very passionate about starting it, having been brought up in the country on a farm myself, surrounded by wildlife, and having hedgehogs in my care for quite a few years now, it just felt right. And the inspiration behind the charity were 2 hedgehogs called Mr. Nosy and Mr. Dozy that came into my care as tiny little hoglets in October at East Baldwin. I thought they were dead. They were very tiny and it was very wet, and I picked them up and they were limp, and I thought, oh dear, there was a little bit of life still in them. And I have to say that it was just amazing to be part of my own real first rehabilitation, and actually to get them to survive was amazing. And then one didn't want to hibernate the first year, and then the second one did, and he survived hibernation for 6 months. And when he walked out on April the 8th, I actually said, 2015, I am starting a charity, I've got to do something here. And everybody loves hedgehogs, and it's also involved a lot of people on the Isle of Man who are very arty and crafty. We've had so many phone calls saying, we want to make this, can we make this and try and sell it and help provide money to help you build this hedgehog visitor centre, which is going to be in the parish of St Mark's. Planning's all gone through. We do need to raise £80,000. I know that's an awful lot of money, but this is just going to be absolutely awesome for education, youth groups, the public, tourism, and people who generally love the environment and wildlife, because we hope to also have a display within the centre, the visitor centre, of the surrounding wildlife in the area, because there's a lot of nocturnal life. There's a few owls flying about there, which are beautiful. You know, we've obviously got the hedgehogs in that area as well, and there's bats, and there's a lot of wonderful. So we want to do lots of nighttime watch, nighttime observation. We've got charities wanting to build hedgehog boxes, so we've got things going on like that. There's just so much to talk about. This is where the education centre really needs to be built, and we can bring in the public, and it can only get better. It's doing really well, but it can only get better. And I think getting those kids out there, involving them in, you know, learning about what we can do to help hedgehogs, learning about a sick one, a healthy one, a good size one, not a good size one, the diet, the old bread and milk, absolutely not. They will eat it, but it will make them poorly because they're lactose intolerant. I mean, I had somebody phone me up only last week. He'd injured a hedgehog, God love him, and he was like, what do I do? What do I do? And he's gardening, he was gardening a wild patch in his garden, and he said, but you know, they're hibernating. You know, we're talking about an adult man who actually believed at this time of year that hedgehogs were hibernating. They sleep during the day, but they're nocturnal and they're very active at night. So they're not hibernating. Hibernating is a complete and utter sleep of taking the heartbeat from 190 down to 20 beats a minute. And that's when they go into literally like a semi-dead state, actually.
So educating the people is very important and this will certainly help. But also you're making awareness through Hector the Hedgehog.
Yeah, Hector the Hedgehog. We love Hector the Hedgehog. A very lovely lady contacted me and said she had a beautiful knitted hedgehog, and he's standing up. He's in a position where you can really see his body, and he's got a little knitted hot water bottle because, you know, they need a certain temperature to allow them to survive as well. And he's just absolutely adorable. So she asked me, would I sell him? And she said, I think we could get £20 for this hedgehog. So I went to go and see her. I took one look at him, totally fell in love with him. Aww. Together we created the name Hector the Hedgehog. This is a wonderful lady called Pippa. And I said, we're going to do more with this hedgehog than just sell him for £20. I think this hedgehog can do a lot of work in the Isle of Man. So we launched him on our Facebook page not so long ago. And Hector the Hedgehog is going to be travelling around the Isle of Man. And I really want to help and support businesses here in the Isle of Man. I think that's really important. And at the same time, bring awareness to the nature of the charity and the work that we're aiming for. So he's going to be popping up around certain businesses who choose to offer a gift or a prize. So Hector is going to be photographed so that you've got to try and guess where he is around that business. And if you get it right, you'll win that prize. Yeah, I'm not going to say too much more about that because Hector's off somewhere very soon. And if I say where it is, you'll all guess, and then that'll be the end of that. So, yeah, that's on our Facebook. So you would have to have access to the internet to know where Hector's going to be.
How do people get in touch with you? Is it just Facebook, or do you have a website as well?
We're on manxhedgehogs@gmail.com. You can phone Hedgehog Hotline. That's Sandy, founder of the charity. That's 413-921. Facebook page, Manx Hedgehog Conservation Society. We are about to have our website built and created, so that's actually on the go, and that's going to be very informative, because if people can't get hold of the charity, they can at least go to the website, and we'll have everything that you need to know information-wise on what do you do if you find a hedgehog, and what do you feed them, and what do we do next.
But people can find you on the Facebook and...
Find us on the Facebook. If anybody wants to help in any fundraising event, we're really very grateful for anyone that wants to get stuck in. And to be honest, one lady sold ice lollies after school and made £30. Do you know what? Every little penny counts. We're not asking for wads and wads. We are suggesting that some businesses, if they want to give anything over 500, we are going to have a plaque made outside the visitor centre with a plaque of gratitude. Mm-hmm. And we've also got GoFundMe, which is on our Facebook page. And again, we'll have a book of gratitude of anybody, £5, £10, whatever it is. Every little penny will make this happen. And we do hope to have lots of craft days as well in the centre when that's created. At the moment, we're sort of on the road a lot. But when we have a base, you know, that's going to draw the people to the centre so we can do lots of nice things with the public.
That was Sandy Hoyton from the Manx Hedgehog Conservation Society.
Ever been pricked by one?
No, I do try and catch them, but they're very fast.
Yeah, they are fast. When you see them but it's a shame that they roll into a ball, I suppose, isn't it? So, yeah, they can motor on when they need to, certainly, and especially when they're pretty good hunters, I think, as well, by the sounds of things.
Yeah, they like to eat the slugs and the snails, but also they'll tackle an animal sort of similar size to themselves as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't think they'd need to get much speed on to catch a slug or a snail.
I suppose not.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Well, it just goes to show you we can feature any bizarre things on Countryside. Hedgehogs there, Kerry talking to Sandy Hoyton about the Manx Hedgehog Conservation Society, and a very worthwhile charity as well, because of the vulnerability of the hedgehogs, particularly on the open roads around the Isle of Man as well. But not just that. Of course, the bonfire times and all that, where they hide and are looking for places to hibernate, and very interesting, and some great bits of advice there from Sandy. And also members of the Treskillian Polo Club here on the Isle of Man. Fraser Houston there doing a sterling job getting everyone involved in that, and such a social event it was when I was at it as well, and the visiting teams from Cheshire and the like from the UK enjoying it immensely as well, and not quite as hard to get into as people would realise. So good, some interesting ones. But that's it for the current series of Countryside. We'll be back in the very near future with another series then. So until then, from Kiri and myself, bye-bye.
Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin, or click shaw.com. Love being Shaw. Terms and conditions apply.